I want to start a business, all in a business. Great. Now we have the first step. Then you have to figure out what kind of business that you want. Is it that you're good at coaching and you really want to help people because you love coaching? Is it that you really, really love e-commerce, or you heard somewhere that that's just a really good business? Is it brick and mortar? Is it online? You've really got to figure out what kind of business.
You're listening to Give Yourself Some Leeway with me, your host, Eugene Lee. I've spent the last 4 years trying to discover how to break the burnout cycle. And as a high achiever in a fast-paced world, I know how easy it is to slip back into old habits, leaving you feeling overwhelmed and left behind. If you're anything like me, then you need to hear this. Burning out is not your fault. Yes, you can recover from burnout. And the post-burnout growth is not only real, but it feels amazing. This podcast is dedicated to helping break the stigma around mental health in the workplace, ending burnout culture for good, and the action steps that you can take today towards your personal growth and success. So let's do it. Welcome to Give Yourself Some Leeway, and thank you for taking the time to join the show today.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Eugene. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Jeanne, when it comes to starting your own business or helping others to start their business, where did that passion come from, or why do you want to help others?
Well, actually, the passion grew. I got into coaching sort of out of necessity. I got into coaching because I was a newly single parent in New York, and I'd started a kids blog, and that wasn't bringing in like a lot of money. I was getting a lot of free clothes, and my kids were the best dressed, poor kids. But I thought, I need to do something that I can do from home, that I'm good at, that I can bring my kids up. So I went through just everything, and coaching just kept coming up. And I thought, well, actually, I'd been wanting to be a life coach for a while, but my life was not in order, and that would just be fake and weird. So I knew I couldn't do it unless I'd gotten my life to be at least be authentic. Even if it was a mess, at least it was authentic. So started with life coaching, and I immediately became a business coach, like immediately, because I was very creative about helping people to make money with their businesses. So my coach said, "You're a business coach, you're a natural." And then I'm just obsessed with helping people to thrive because I wanted to thrive. And then when I did thrive, it became even a bigger obsession because I want to help people do what I did. And I truly believe that making money is very important, and making money helping other people is even more important. So I am passionate about, I'm emotionally connected to helping other people to thrive.
I love that, especially what you said there around being authentic, being yourself. That rather than saying, "Okay, I'm going to be a business coach," you were like, "No, I need to work on myself first. I need to work on myself before I can help others." And I think that's
Yes,
something that a lot of people try to overlook. They always want to help others before helping themselves.
I agree. You need the oxygen mask. And also, if your life is a shambles, it's just not congruent, is the word. And I remember thinking, I really want to be a life coach. And I thought, I can't do it now because I did not sorted it out where I was not a place of perfection, absolutely not, but a place where I didn't feel like I was a liar in my life. Like it wasn't, I wasn't lying, but where it wasn't, you know, it wasn't the life I want. It wasn't even going towards the life I wanted. So then you're just a fake. And one thing I never want to be is fake.
Yeah, I think especially when it comes to life coaching, people see a lot of the overnight success stories, or they see what
Mm,
looks flashy, what looks like the sizzle of the steak on Facebook, and
mm,
they see the superficial side of it, where people are like, "Oh, get successful overnight," rather
mm,
than seeing that's not the reality of it. There's
mm-hmm,
the hard work. There's the okay, great, you make the money. What now? And people haven't built the foundation, or they haven't built the they've built a facade, and they haven't actually been authentic to themselves. So no matter
mm-hmm,
what success or financial or financial freedom that they may have on the outside, they still feel hollow on the inside. So
Mm.
it's about how does someone start off authentic and go from there without feeling lost or feeling, oh, I'm being left behind, or overcoming that imposter syndrome.
Right. Well, the thing is, I truly believe that there's a lot of people in the world that can be coaches, and your life doesn't have to be perfect. But there's a it's like if you're a fitness coach and you're overweight and unfit, that's not it's not cool. You don't have to be Olympic, conditioned to be a health or fitness coach. But it's that thing, or somebody that, is a health coach but secretly smokes and drinks. Well, that's not cool because that's just kind of hypocritical. So again, it wasn't that, I could help people because my life was perfect, is that I could help people because I wasn't being a hypocrite. Um, that's, I think, the key thing. But a lot of coaches don't have perfect lives, and they certainly can help other people. But it's just about being a little bit true to yourself, at least a little bit, right? A lot.
So if someone wants to, let's say, start their own business, or someone feels they're not in the right job right now and they may decide to go out on their own,
Hmm.
where should they start? What is the first starting point? Is it a mindset shift, or is it an action that they must take in order to get that mindset shift?
First of all, you can't lightly decide to start a business. It has to be, first of all, I want to start a business and I'm serious about that. And that's what I'm going to do. But it can't be, maybe I do, maybe I don't, because it will never work if it's a maybe. So first you have to get to the decision of yes, you don't need to know what it is. I want to start a business, all in a business. Great. Now we have the first step. Then you have to figure out what kind of business that you want. Is it that you're good at coaching and you really want to help people because you love coaching? Is it that you really, really love e-commerce? So you heard somewhere that that's just a really good business. Is it brick and mortar? Is it online? You've really got to figure out what kind of business you want to do. And it could be a business that has nothing to do with you being involved as far as coaching. It could just be nobody even knows you're running the business. And that's also another important point. If you're an introvert and you really don't like talking to people that much, maybe do a business where you don't have to talk to people a lot, but really figure out, and don't start a restaurant because restaurants are like the worst business to start. We all know that, unless you're like a celebrity chef or, a famous person. And even famous people say, I wish I did not start that restaurant. That's a really hard slog to start a restaurant. So that's the one thing I'm going to say. Think long and hard about that. Okay. So that's it. I want to start a business. What do I want to do? And then you've really got, you don't have to write, really complex business plans. You don't. That's usually when you want a loan, you need those. If you don't need a loan, figure out what will this business bring in. You really want to know more or less. Talk to other people with businesses like that. What are your revenues? What are your profits? What can I expect? How much am I going to have to work? I met a woman today and she said that she started a business, and she and her three partners, they made $88 million in revenue in 1 year. She said, we didn't sleep because they didn't want to live like that. So they bought her out. And she said, I was glad because that's just not living to spend a whole year working day 20. She goes, we were working 24/7. I said, well, not quite. She goes, we got a tiny bit of sleep that year. She goes, I don't want to live like that. So you have to be really honest about what you do want to do. However, it's not going to work if you say, yes, I want a business and I want millions of dollars, but I want to work 4 hours a week. Myth. Give it up right now. Not going to happen unless you pay people to do everything for you and you have that kind of a budget, because that is also another way to start a business. You can get these complete done for you situations, but you need money in the first place to pay for those.
It's kind of like some people find that like a catch-22 where they feel, um, especially people who've been working 9 to 5 grind, and they
Mhm.
feel, okay, I'm feeling burnt out, or I can't do this anymore.
Mm,
I'm feeling lifeless. And they think
mm,
that the best option for themselves is to start their own business. If I
mhm,
follow my passion project and start a business, I'm going to be doing what I love, and I'm
mhm,
going to be successful. I'm going to be get paid to do what I love. And they think that's the answer. Next thing, they
mhm,
start their passion project and they turn it into their career, and they find rather than working 9 to 5, 5 days a week, they're working
mhm.
12 to 16 hour days, 7 days a week. and they
Hmm.
find
And
themselves
making
flat
less
out
money.
and making absolute, sometimes making no money, and
Right.
realizing, oh, I thought I was doing what I loved,
Mm,
and I thought that I was going to enjoy it more, but now I feel less secure, less stable, and I'm nowhere near as successful as I thought I would be. And they end up burning out in what they thought their passion project was the answer to everything. And then
mm.
they feel hopeless, and then they feel lost.
Right. Okay. So there's some, you have to have some sort of idea that you don't start a business and magic fairy dust sprinkles on your head and then you just become a millionaire. Now, I know that has happened to some people, especially like startup people sometimes, but that's longer than you think. Um, but sometimes it does happen. That is like a lottery ticket. Now, if you really want to do a business, there's like some people have very low expectations. Like I've talked to people and they're like, "Well, Jeanne, we've only been doing this 3 years, so of course we're not making money." And I'm thinking, well, it depends on the model. For a coaching business, if you've been doing a coaching business for 3 years, you should absolutely be making money and not be going deep in debt. That is a very high profit business, a coaching business. Okay. And I met some people and they said, well, we've only been in it 3 years and we're only like, 100,000 in debt. And I said, you shouldn't be in debt at all. Like for that kind of a business, there should be no debt unless it's debt for coaching, debt for developing, but not debt in buying stuff and the office and swag and all of that. That's not needed. Okay. Development is different. That is developmental debt, not buying stuff. Okay. Now, regarding what you said, there's a book called The E-Myth, I believe, that talked about what you said, that you just because you love something, like let's say you love making pies, okay? And you're great at making pies, and people all around you are like, Eugene, you are the pie aficionado. You're amazing. Your pies are amazing. You're just so good at pies. You should start a business. Okay. Now that happens a lot. You're so good, you should start a business. That doesn't mean you should start a business at all. It means you're good at making pies. Okay. So you're good at making pies. We love it. Great, great product. There is another whole side. It's working on your business and in your business. So working in the business of you're going to be able to get all the pie stuff and make the beautiful pies. And okay, but what about the business of selling the pies? Now that's where most people have a wake up call and they just go and start a business because somebody said, I love your pies or your donuts, right? Or your cookies. I just love them. Then they're in a state of shock when they realize, oh, I actually have to market this stuff. Because here's my analogy. You could have the best pies in the whole world, delicious. But if your pies are in a shop at the end of a dark, spooky alley, then nobody will know you have beautiful pies because you don't know how to position yourself. It doesn't mean your pies are bad. It means you don't know how to position yourself or sell your stuff. So those are the two sides of the business that people most of the time when they're starting a business don't understand.
I love that, especially when you said it's like, oh, you love your pies. And I've come across that in so many jobs where I love baking. So I loved your analogy. And I bring chocolate fudge and I'd bring chocolate brownies always into work. And because I love baking. It was like it was my stress relieving activity outside of work. I'd always go baking. But when I go baking, I know I can't eat all of this myself. So I'd share it with friends and family and work colleagues, and they'd always be like, "Oh, you should start your business. What are you doing here? You need to start a business." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"No, I love the baking. I don't want to ruin it by knowing, okay,
Mm.
now I need to position myself. I need to do all the marketing. I need to carefully, let's say, try to cut out all the try to make my baking more efficient,
Mhm.
and that would take all the fun out of it because I knew I would be a lot more logical about how I do it rather than enjoying the process and
Yes.
enjoying seeing other people like appreciate the baking and enjoy the experience of the baking also. I wouldn't
Mhm.
experience that if I knew that every time I shared my baking, I was looking for a sale. And I felt that
Exactly.
would ruin the experience for me.
It probably would because it's for fun and you're giving it away for fun and it's gifts. And also then you have to get a commercial kitchen and now it's a business. So yeah.
So when people, as you said, starting a business and finding that passion project, or realizing that passion project may not be the best option for them. And
Mm-hmm.
if they are to pursue that passion project, and if they think, okay, this is a good idea, they need to learn how to position themselves. Is that something that they need to consider before putting the foot down and say, I want to start a business with this?
Absolutely. That is a really good way of reverse engineering. Instead of like, oh, human beings do this. I get all excited and guess what? Started a business and look at my branding. I spent 10K for the branding and now I've got a website. And then I'm like, Okay. Well, to me, it's about the development you're paying for. Like to me, you don't want the website yet. You want to freaking hire a coach to see if you need the website, when you need the website, what that should look like. And people get all excited about, the whole Herman Miller chair joke, like in the dot-com era. They're so excited about getting their, brick and mortar office and buying the chairs and the desks and all that stuff. It's like the people that play golf and they buy the best golf clubs, but they suck at golf because they haven't practiced enough. You know those people? But they love buying the golf clubs, and the golf clubs really don't get used that much because they just wanted to buy the paraphernalia. So these are the paraphernalia people. I mean, it's fun. It's fun ordering the business cards. They think that, we used to joke, just because you put a shingle up does not mean you're going to get clients. That's the joke. We put the shingle up, but now you got to start marketing. So it's about not going nuts and just sort of ignorantly spending money on stuff you heard somewhere because you don't want to pay for a business consultant or coach. Smartest thing to do would be, look, hey, I have this idea. I want to see if, do a little bit of research, talk to other people that have see what the real deal is with that kind of business. How are they doing it? Talk to them first and then get some help so you can actually strategize an actual plan before you start flinging money all over the place. I'll give you an example. A lot of coaches start and they just go, oh my goodness, I need a website. They pay a ton of money for a website, but they're not even clear what their offer is yet. They're going to have to change that a million times. Then they're like, oh, I was told I need branding. So they go pay $10,000 or $20,000 to get branding shots, all the social media shots. Okay. And now they have a website with branding, but they have no clients and they have no clue. And you can tell because it just looks like empty branding. And when there's no substance behind branding, I can tell every time. There's no substance. So like with branding, you want to wait till you do your branding. So the force, energy, life force of what you're doing is propelling you forward and creating that brand. So it's a lot of things that people spend money on that they do not need to spend money on at the beginning. They really need to plan a little bit and strategize just a little bit.
I think that also ties back into being inauthentic, the people who are trying to fake it until they make it. And they're like, okay,
Mm,
if I have the website and I have all the branding and everything, that's going to set me up and that's going to position myself better rather than
mm,
getting clear on their who they are, getting clear on who they're serving,
mm-hmm,
and then being like, okay, now that I'm helping people and I have the clients, the next step to, let's say, in scaling and improving their
mm-hmm.
position is to say, okay, now I have a website where I can showcase all of that.
Right, right. But they're too worried about the colors of their brand. Nobody really cares about the colors of your brand. Trust me on that. Like they really don't. All people care about, sure, for certain businesses, you want to make it look a certain way for sure. And packaging is very important for products, of course. Um, but really, all people want to know is how can you help them? How, if you're a coach or a consultant, for instance, or how can your product help them? What is in it for me? Like, okay, they could say, hey, Jeanne Omlor, I love your branding. My branding is very light, by the way. I did it myself because I have a degree in design. So I kind of have an idea, but I never paid a branding person because I didn't feel like needed it. And nobody said, oh my gosh, your branding's so bad. You've helped, so many people help make millions of dollars, but your branding's bad, Jeanne Omlor. I did have people saying that at one point. How come you're always sitting in your car taking selfies? I said, because the light in my Tesla has a beautiful light that diffuses and I look better. And they're like, oh, and they're like, you should get more branding. And I'm like, why? I'm helping a lot of people. I'm making a ton of money. So why should I take time out of my job to go get branding because you said so? Eventually I did get branding shots, but I was like, oh my gosh, that was a whole day out of my life. My time is precious to me, and I had to take a whole day. I'm glad I did because I used it for my podcast and other things. So it's good I had new shots because you should update. Um, but it's really not important. I mean, it's important later, but what's really important at the beginning is that you are just out there helping people. They're paying you, and then you're building up that library of help. I call it.
As you said, you're building up and you're helping people.
Mm,
And again, that helps you build up evidence before
mm,
creating your branding, creating and creating the website and showcasing yourself. That
mm,
you're rather than depending on creating the image of yourself, you're saying, okay, I already know what I can do.
mm,
As you said,
mhm,
you're using your own experience
mm,
rather than relying on what other people are telling you to do. You're saying, no,
mhm,
from my own experience, the evidence that I've given myself, this is how I want to go. And that's the push forward that you need when it comes
mhm,
to business, that
mhm.
you're not relying on what other people, what the external validation, or what the what other people are telling you how you should do it. And oftentimes when it comes to the branding and to the marketing, it's them trying to sell to you, saying,
Right,
oh, this is what you need, this is what you need to be in order to be successful.
right.
You need to do the branding, you need to do the photo shoots.
Because, well, I mean, that's what they do, and they have to take control and say, you don't know, well, this is what we're going to do for you. And they're just doing their job, by the way. I'm not against branding and marketers because they do, a lot of them do a great job, and it is needed. Now, you said a very interesting word, and I was thinking about this. You said push forward, and I was going to say, your branding should be propelled by your energy of what you're doing. You shouldn't be pulled into the branding. See the difference of somebody just pulling you into branding and it's sort of like, let's make this up, instead of you're solid and you're being propelled energetically into aligned marketing and aligned branding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people, when they feel stuck and they feel they're being pulled in every direction, but
Mm,
it's they need to build the evidence first, as into
mm,
like and have that clarity themselves. Why am I
mm-hmm,
doing this? Okay,
mm-hmm,
what do I need in order to push forward? To,
mm-hmm.
as you said, to propel yourself. And
Yes.
oftentimes, people, when they feel that they're an imposter, they feel that they don't have confidence in what they're doing, they need to
Mm-hmm,
build that evidence first or get that clarity in order to push themselves forward and feel
mm-hmm.
confident in what they do.
Exactly. The clarity. That's key.
What other expertise or experience do you feel that people need in order to propel themselves forward? What other things can they leverage?
Well, the thing is, it's not that hard. It really is like, I'm not about over planning. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying don't do something till it's like, um, can I put, no, I hate the word authentic, but that you're not like piecing it together and it's a facade, you know? So you don't have to run off and get a website. You don't have to run and get business cards. I don't even have a business card because it's all online. And when I meet somebody, I do my, bump with my phone, or we just, I don't even have a business card anymore. I haven't had one in years. Okay. But when I used to do a lot of networking, sure, I needed a business card. Um, but it's not about collecting stuff or spending money on stuff. It is about, okay, I have a business. I need to get one client. That's it. It's so simple. I need to get one client to have proof of concept that I have a business or product or something. And that's what you need to focus on is I'm going to go out and get a client. And when you have a client, what do you have now? A business with one client. Great. Now you're experimenting and you're getting experience working with the client in whatever capacity that is. That's what's important is getting the client or the sale. And then from there, then you build from an energetic grassroots level. Okay, now I have a client. How I'm going to do my best with this client. I'm going to learn a lot. We're going to see what the clients really need. Then I'm going to get another client. Maybe I'll adjust my pricing, maybe not. I'll see. But you're learning from each client or each sale what people need, and you're building it in a very true blue way.
I feel where people get stuck when they feel like that they need to build up everything before they start a business, or they feel that before they take action, they need to do all of the background work before. I was like that first, where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this course on something, or I'm going to do these trainings, but I'm going to wait until I watch 100% of the videos before I take any action.
Hmm.
It's kind of the, you want to take perfect action, and you end up procrastinating all sorts of action because you're like, oh, I don't want to take action until I have it perfect first. And
Right.
that, the limiting belief there is that people feel that imperfect action is going to make them fail. And if they
Right.
fail, they'll never get back up again.
I certainly had some of that. Like the first year of my business, and a coach I had, he said in an event to me in front of everybody, he said, "You need to stop trying to make everything so perfect. That's standing in your way." And I thought, noted. And from that moment, I never did it again. I thought he's right because nothing will ever be perfect. And I feel like perfectionism is a sort of self abuse because you cannot be perfect, but you're wanting yourself to be and you're insisting. So it's self abuse, really, because you're asking the impossible of yourself and you know it, but yet you keep asking the impossible of yourself and you're never going to succeed at anything being perfect. So I think the order of the day is massive, messy action. I teach that. Just so there's some action, massive, messy action at the beginning of your business. Later on, when you get more professional and you're making more money, then the action doesn't have to be so messy because you're now massive action, less mess. But no successful person who's ever been truly successful has not been scrappy. And everybody wants to be so neat and civilized. And that's not how you create success. You create success by being scrappy and doing what it takes and being okay that you're like mud wrestling, because that's what it takes, really, for it to be successful. It can't all be neat. It's never going to be neat. Stuff happens every day in a business. Okay. And a lot of luck comes into it, you know, a lot of luck. Well, not a lot, some luck, some more than others. I don't think I had a ton of luck, but I certainly, when I look at it, I did have some luck deciding certain things, getting online when I did, making decisions was my luck. I made my own luck. Nobody's ever discovered me. I'm saying luck in that, wow, really lucky I made that decision when I did. So it's really just about stop triple billion guessing yourself. If you want to do something and you need some help, yes, get help. Coaching, I feel, saves people so much time that you're making money from it. But the people that are like, oh, I'm going to figure it out myself. Why on earth would you want to figure that out yourself? Why on earth would you want to figure that out yourself when you can have the answers and save time, money? In the end, you're going to make more money and frustration and life demoralization because you want to be economical, but then you'll spend millions of dollars on a website. So I think that where people spend their money has to be like more practical in the sense, will this move my business forward? If the chair is not going to move your business forward, don't buy the expensive chair. Just sit on any chair for now. And, don't get the best website in the world. Just do what you need to get the money in the door, because a business with no sales or clients is not a business. It's a hobby.
So when someone feels that their business is they're trying to make that distinction between it being a business and a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say someone started it as a passion project
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted to become a business, but
Mm-hmm.
they have, as you said, the limiting beliefs that are holding them back. That
Mm,
they don't want to invest in coaching, or they don't
mm,
want to hire someone to help them out with it. They're like, no, I'll figure this out myself. It'll take time.
mhm,
I'll figure it out myself.
mm.
And oftentimes, it's like, well, if you're going to figure it out yourself, why haven't you figured it out by now?
Already.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just denial. And that's just basically all sorts of fears. That is, oh my goodness, what if I spend this money and it doesn't work? That is, it'll be all right. I'll figure it out. But they know deep down they're not, because if you don't know how to build a rocket, you're not going to figure that out on your own. Somebody needs to teach you, unless you're a genius. Of course, geniuses, always make the exception for geniuses, but you're pretty much not going to figure it out on your own. I mean, I haven't figured stuff out. I mean, I've gotten help and then I've taken it further. So sure, but I would never just say, oh, I'm just going to figure why would I do that when I can just pay somebody and get the answer? You know, it's it's ridiculous. And also, how much time do we have in life to figure out all the stuff? Like, do you know what I mean? Like say I want to learn about investing. Why would I try to figure that on my own? I ask all my mentors and friends, like, how do I do this? Because I'm already spending a lot of time figuring out marketing for me and my clients and moving that forward. So it's how much, like I hired a personal trainer. Why? Do I want to work it out for myself to make sure I do the exact exercises to build the muscle where I want? No, the guy freaking works out pro footballers. So wouldn't I hire? Yes, I hired him immediately. He also lives in my complex, so we can meet at the gym where I live. Why would I want to do that on my own to save some money and not pay for the trainer? In 6 months, I have a completely different body already because he has a list of like different exercises and he doesn't just randomly work me out. He knows what I'm trying to achieve. I'm like, I never would have figured this out. Maybe I could have if I got online and da da da. Do I want to do that? No. Do I have time? Absolutely not. So I paid him. I'm getting results. I'm happy. He's happy. So I do this with everything. My daughter is going to go into college. You think I'm figuring that out on my own? Absolutely not. We have coaches to help her, pass the SAT. And then we got coaches for, you know, where to go. I mean, we kind of know more or less. And also for getting scholarships. Do you think I know how to get scholarships? Nope. I have a coach for that for us. So it's also, valuing your time. And in the end, if I hire that coach, we're going to save so much money because we're going to get way more scholarships. It's worth it. Instead of, no, I don't want to pay the coach because I'm going to figure it out on my own. No, heck no. So I'm very hard line about this. If there's somebody that knows something I don't know, I will pay them to get one piece of information that's going to open up the door for me. And you might think, well, heck, Jeanne Omlor, why'd you spend so much money just for that one thing? Because that was the key. That key is the answer. Because if you are wanting to put together, let's say you take apart a radio, and you want to put it back together. Well, if you're missing a piece, it's never going to work. If somebody secretly went and took one of the pieces in the night when you had it all laid out, you are never going to make that radio work again, right? So sometimes that one piece is worth the gold because it's the key that just opens it up and makes all the other stuff be like, okay, that's how that works. Does that make sense? It's
Yeah,
like,
that makes sense.
like with a mathematical problem, if you don't have that, if you do it, but you miss a piece, you're never going to figure out, you're never going to solve that problem, right? Never. Because it needs the whole formula. Would you agree?
Yeah, this is the same as
Yeah,
just having a jigsaw puzzle and just having that one piece missing in the middle. And you're like, well,
right.
it'll never be complete until you have that missing piece.
Exactly. Exactly. But I think the, mathematical equation is a really good one because we all know, if you're missing, never going to get the answer. It's a really good analogy.
So rather than only leveraging your own expertise, leverage the expertise of others. Take that on.
Absolutely.
It's like, hey, if I don't know it, someone must know it. So I might as well
Right.
get them to do that part that I don't know yet.
A smart person asks a lot of questions and corners people. I'm an expert at that. Okay. I'm expert at cornering people in a nice way and saying, hey, can we get on a call? And I just say, would you mind answering some questions? And they say, sure. People like to help generally. So I have a lot of people that maybe aren't my mentors, but they've been a mentor for a session or a day, and they become friends. And usually people want to help other people that don't know about that. You, you know, this is people that are not even coaches. Like these are people that I know who know a lot about, like, say, real estate or something else, or just investing or startups or anything. And usually when you say, hey, I'd love to hear more about that. How did you do that? They'll say, sure. And they'll get on a call and I ask a bunch of questions and I learned so much. And then you've learned more. And then sometimes I might hire a coach and sometimes it might be a mentor. The more you ask questions of people, the more you learn and you realize how little you know about so much.
And I find that fascinating when you find out how little you know about so
Mm.
much. Some people back into a corner and they're like, oh no, I'm being opened up to all of these things that I don't know, and they feel attacked. They take it
They do.
personally. Yeah, yeah. I know some people and they don't venture into things that they don't know because they feel that if they expand that bubble, of things that they don't know, of uncertainty, they're
Mm,
like, oh no, that's attacking all the experiences and expertise that I've built up now, and I feel smaller. Whereas I find it fascinating. I'm like, there's so much I don't know about. There's so much
mm,
more for me to learn. There's so much more for me to grow. It's like it's
right,
so expansive. It's so infinite. I'm like, there is so much opportunity for me to get even bigger than I thought. Than I thought that I knew about a subject. And next thing is like, no, there's so much more that I don't know.
right.
I'm only at the where I thought I was coming to the pinnacle. I'm like, oh no, this is just the first baby step. There's so much more out there.
That's exciting for me. That's like a playground. It's like, wow, I didn't know that. But you just said the key word grow. It's a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, and Carol Dweck wrote a book about that, by the way. So yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it's just fear. It's always fear of, well, I know what I know and I don't want to venture. It's also, it's a personality thing or it's just a fear thing. But really, I mean, everybody lives their life the way they want. So I'm not going to judge people if they have a fixed mindset. They're happy, then they're happy. Because sometimes people, it's like, oh, that's too much information. But I'm very curious about a lot of things. And so when I meet somebody, I'm like, wow, I never knew that. It's just like, for me, it's like, you know, amazing. I love it. It's like a playground. It's like, wow, another subject I knew nothing about. It's fascinating. And that's how you grow, is even if it's not a business idea. I've learned so much. The more people I meet that are pretty high level, it's like this whole world opens up.
Yeah, you find that there so many people from, let's say, different ways of working that are outside of your bubble. Like
Hmm.
I was in my previous job for almost 10 years working within the same four walls,
Hmm.
and a lot of people that I worked with, they've been there for 20 to 40 years and that's all they know. And
Mm,
if anyone said, "Oh, would you ever consider working outside of this environment?" They're like, "Oh, I would never leave this place. I would never work. This is all I know." Whereas
right. And there's
they
comfort
could
in
be
that.
made, yeah, there's comfort in that, but there's also so much insecurity around the idea of if they were ever made redundant, they don't know what they would do with their lives because they've built an identity around this fixed mindset, this bubble that they've created for themselves.
Right.
Whereas as soon as I said, okay, I don't see myself being here for the next 40 years, maybe there's a whole world out there. And
Right.
they saw that as so much uncertainty rather
Hmm.
than opportunity.
Right.
Maybe there's a better life out there, more freedom.
Hmm.
Maybe
Hmm.
there's more opportunity. Maybe I might find something that I enjoy even more. I have
Right.
this expertise, and maybe there's something I'll enjoy even more if I take that somewhere else.
Right. But the experiments on, taking opening the door of the cage and the animals not leaving because they're good, right? So again, I don't want to judge, how people live, but some people that's just all they want, a comfortable life and they have the job and they're not terribly ambitious, and that's okay, because this world takes all types of people. It really does, and that's what makes it beautiful. And when they're talking about leadership and leaders and leaders and leaders and leaders, the fact is, not everybody can be a leader because we need followers. So, saying everybody should be a leader, that's just not true. You can be a leader in your life and your family, but some people don't want to be leaders. They want to just be themselves and follow or not follow. So I think that there's value in, different ways. However, because we're speaking on this podcast, we're speaking about ambition and creating and business and not settling for less. So, of course, although I honor what people are wanting in their lives, I never want to be like that. We're not here for that. We're here to, excuse me, we're here to fully ignite people and to have them to reach their full potentials, because that's what most people deep down want to do, is reach their full potential even if they're in denial about it. Or so that, to me, I want to help spark that in people, that we have one life here on this earth. Let's make the most of it. And I don't mean make the most money or buy the most stuff. I mean, if you want to buy stuff, great. Got nothing wrong with that either. But it's really about making the most and being, if you're going to be something, and there's a saying, if you're going to be something, be a good something. So if you're going to be, a father, be a good father, mother, brother, business person. If you're a religious person, be a good whatever. So, sports person, be a good whatever it is. Try to do things well. And I think the main thing is people figure out if they are in denial. If you're in denial because of fear, get out of it, because that is a prison. If you're not in denial and you just really like your calm, peaceful life and you just want to go to the same job and you're not bored or you like being bored, fantastic. But I think there is a lot of denial with some people just settling.
Yeah, I think that's the differentiation. It's when people are in denial, as you said, and you see it in people's behaviors when they're in denial, that that they make up excuses, or
Mm-hmm.
they identify themselves as a victim of sorts, that it's like, oh, even if I wanted to change, I couldn't, because
Mm,
and then they come up with an excuse, or they victimize themselves and they say, oh, you're trying
right.
to make me change, but and then they create a scenario where they play the victim.
Mm,
And for a lot of people, that they know in a way that they're holding themselves back, but they're still in denial of it. Or
mm,
as we said, it's not being authentic to yourself.
mm-hmm.
It's creating a facade where you're like, oh, I know that there's a lot of pain or discomfort in making that change.
Yes. And they
And
don't
it's
want pain because human beings will do anything to not be in pain. Anything. That's how we are wired to do anything to avoid pain, right?
it's fascinating the lengths that people will go to avoid pain and stay in the same situation that may not be ideal, and it may not be what they want, but
Mm-hmm.
they feel that the pain of staying the same is less than the pain that it would take to make the change. And
Mm-hmm.
you see the lengths that they go to stay in the same situation, the discomfort that they go through, and they don't realize the vast lengths they go to staying the same,
Mm-hmm.
that the minimal effort that they would have to put into making the change to get the momentum going in the opposite direction
Mm-hmm.
is so little compared to the discomfort they're putting themselves through now. And it's trying
Well,
to help break that mindset shift.
it's about chronic pain or ripping the band-aid off kind of pain.
Yes.
There's different kind of pain, right? Now, there's a saying, choose your heart. So life is hard. It's not easy. Human beings, we suffer a lot. Let's face it. Human beings suffer a lot. We live with it, we cope with it. But when you think about all the, my dad used to say, into every life, some rain must fall. And that is, it's true. Into every life, some rain must fall. Nobody is exempt from the pain or the rain in Spain, So what's your choice? It's always a choice. Let's talk about, like, say somebody is very overweight. Okay. It's very painful to be very overweight. It really is, to be in ill health, to not like yourself because you know that you're overweight and you're not healthy. It might affect your relationships, your health. Um, it's affecting your mobility, all of that. That's hard. Being overweight, let's be real, that is a hard life to be overweight. Okay. Now, making a decision to lose weight is also hard. So which one do you choose? They're both hard, because it's not like being overweight is easy, because it's not. It's not like, oh, well, you don't want to do the work because you're lazy. It's hard being overweight. It is. I've never been grossly overweight, but we know that. And it's not like they're happy. It's not like, oh, I've chosen the easy way to be overweight. So you choose your hard. Do you want to stay in that hard situation where your health will decline, more disease, social problems because maybe you get so heavy, mobility problems, health problems, family problems, whatever. Also, you can't really like your body, and that affects your mindset, and it can often make you very grumpy with people around you. Let's be real. Or you're going to make that really hard decision to say, I'm done. I am going to get help, go on a diet and lose the weight. Very hard, because then you got to do that whole thing of the self mastery of changing that habit They're both immensely hard, right? Choose one. Same thing with denial. You're in a job, you really hate it. You know you hate it, but it's like you're telling yourself, well, I'm never going to be able to be good at anything else. But it's this chronic lack of satisfaction, which is hard, creating anxiety, which is hard. You might think it's easy to get up and go to that job that you hate, but it's hard to go to a job you don't love and it's okay. And it's affecting everything because underlying, you want more or different or better. That's hard to live like that. It's not easy. Or take the jump and say, I am going to change it. Again, the decision to make a change is extremely difficult, but they're both hard situations.
And I feel as well, making that decision to jump, a lot of people tie that to their identity. And they feel, okay, if I'm making this decision
Hmm.
to jump, then I am changing who I am or who I believe
Hmm.
myself to be. And they don't realize that that decision isn't concrete. If you say, okay, I want to implement running into my routine, or I want to cut out a bit of sugar in my day to day meals, and it's like it doesn't mean that you are now a runner. And that's what
Hmm.
and if you stop running you're a failure. It's like, no,
Hmm.
I've decided to try this out for a while, and it might work for me, it might not. I can change things again. Sometimes
Okay.
people feel that when they make the jump and they're like, oh, but I've made if I make this jump, it's going to change who I am as a person. And they're
Mm.
not ready for that identity shift.
That is where the danger comes in with life. When we say who I really am is like the successful coach, well, you know, if I said tomorrow, I'm going to give up coaching, does that change who I really am? No, I'm the same person, but I've decided now I don't want to coach anymore. Same person, decided. I think what's really important is that people figure out who they really are. And who they really are is not something. Who you really are you a good person who believes in something, who has values, who takes care of your family or what? But of course, what we do, we feel attached to that. But we shouldn't feel so attached to what we do that we're going to have some sort of like identity crisis. You know, obviously, if I stop coaching now, it'd be like, well, okay, what am I? Who am I? I'm still Jeanne Omlor, but I decided I'm not going to coach. Sure, there'll be some sort of glitch probably there because I'll be doing something different. It's like, oh, but it's like people when they start making money. Okay, when they haven't never made money, and you see some people, it completely changes their. You're like, oh my gosh, you're not the same person anymore because you are now identifying with, oh, I'm a rich person now, right? So I'm going to change. Yeah, sure, you can spend more. I certainly spend more money than I used to, but I didn't completely change my personality. It's just like, wow, I got more freedom. Great. I can go to a restaurant and not look at prices anymore. I love it. That's a good change. Okay. So I think what's really important is to not say, oh, that's going to make me a this or that's going to make me a bad person because now I'm selling and I'm spammy. It's who are you really? Who you really are never changes. You might change your name. You might get old. You might blah, blah, blah. Women change their names when they get married often, but you're still the same person. So, what we really need to figure out is who we really are, regardless of where we go every morning to go to work, who we really are. And once you get really solid with who you really are, what you stand for, what you believe in, then you're good. You have an anchor.
It reminded me for some reason of, is it Romeo and Juliet, when Romeo says that a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That no matter what name or identity we give ourselves, that we're still the same person, and it's up to us. If we want to make that change, we make that decision ourselves, and it's up to
Right,
us how we choose to live with that.
right. Because when women get married and change their name, and when men actually go change their name, they're still the same person. They think they're running away because their name is different, because they're trying to like fake. Not women getting married, but I mean people that like change their name. Sometimes they're changing it because they don't like their name, but it's doesn't change who you are. The clothes you wear doesn't change who you are. Whether you're wearing makeup or fancy clothes or not fancy clothes, You're still the same essence because a person who is born and the baby looks in the mirror as a baby, okay? And then they age and they're still looking in the mirror. It's the same person, but they just look different.
And if anyone is, let's say, struggling with being authentic with themselves and feeling that that's
Mhm.
what's holding them back,
Mhm.
what will be an action step or something that you would recommend for them? Where's a good starting place for someone who is struggling with their identity or feeling that they're stuck in some way?
I'm going to give you the easiest thing ever to do, which is amazing. Every morning when you wake up, you say, I am loved over and over again. It's a self love thing. I am loved. And when you start just making this a chant, something shifts in your brain. I am loved because often, without even addressing or going to a psychologist, I know often the problem is people lack self love. And I don't mean, this weird self love on Instagram of look at me, because often those people have no self love. It's you just say, I am loved. I am loved. I am loved over and over and over and over again. And when that actually hits your brain, something changes and shifts because people generally don't love themselves. Again, not in, oh, I think I'm so amazing love. I mean, self acceptance, the absence of self loathing, the opposite of self loathing. Let's put it that way. And if you keep saying, I am loved every morning, you just wake up and you lie in bed. So easy. You don't have to get up and go for a run. I'm just saying, lie in bed and just say, I am loved. I am loved. I am loved. And then you can add other things on later, like, I am cherished or whatever. But when you start doing this, I just got a shift just now, just saying that a few times. I felt a shift. When you start to realize that you are loved, somebody loves you. If you're religious, well, God loves you. If you're anybody, your friends love you, your family, you're loved and you're loved by yourself. I am loved. It's just self-acceptance. I am loved over and over. You'll create a shift and that might actually have you take action.
I love that because oftentimes when I say to someone's like, "Oh, just keep repeating it," and they say, "Oh, but if I keep on saying it over and over, the words will lose their meaning."
No,
And it's exactly the opposite. Because I know someone who they think it doesn't mean anything, but they just
mm,
say like on the fly they say, "Oh, I find it easier to make enemies than to make friends," and they're
right.
wondering why their whole life, let's say, it's really hard for them to make friends because
Who
they're
would
turning
say that?
everyone else against them. It's and it's 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 fascinating every time I hear it because they're wondering why they make bad decisions or why
Right.
it's hard or life is difficult for them. But they say on the
Mm.
fly, they say like, "Oh, it's just so much easier for me to make enemies than it is to make friends."
Well, then
And
they're going to keep getting that,
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
it's like, well, you're making it a reality.
they've done studies on gratitude as well. And I have a gratitude practice, I would call it. Like I just get so deep and grateful for everything. Like I'm grateful I have leftovers in the fridge because it matters. And when you get really grateful, you start to see what you're taking for granted. Like I have such a long list, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have really like so much to be grateful for and very little to complain about. But they've also figured out the complaining raises cortisol levels, which is not good, stress levels. And we all love complaining. Human beings love complaining, right? But if you can get out of the habit of complaining, it's hard because it kind of feels good, like, oh, it got that off, But if you could just also wake up in the morning and think of everything you're grateful for and then say I'm loved, it already will create such a shift. I write down what I'm grateful for and I also think it in the morning. I'm like, oh, that's right. Or sometimes I'm just outside and I'm like, wait, and I stop a minute just to be in the now, the power of now. I'm like, okay, wow, take a minute. I did this yesterday. I stopped when I was walking and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for that. And I just stopped and did an audit in the middle of me walking. I stopped. I thought, oh my goodness, I just got myself back to peak gratitude right now in the moment. And, the more you do that, it just completely transforms your life.
So, Jean, what's the best place for someone to reach out to you if they want to get in touch?
Well, you're going to have my jeanneomlor.com /reviews /. Also, just Jeanne Omlor at Gmail, Jeanne Omlor all over the place. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I just use use Jeanne Omlor to make things simple.
So no trouble trying to find you, JeanneOmlor.com.
And I have a podcast called Business Wealth Impact, business dot wealth dot impact.
Great. Thank you, Jeanne. It was great having you on the show.
And you too, it was amazing. Thank you so much.